Hey, good day, everybody. Steve Przebrowski here. Welcome to tip number 27 in the 101 Tips to Ace Your Promotional Examination Process series. So, as a reminder, my website, code3firetrain.com, has a lot of great free resources on there. Please check them out when you get a chance. Also, this series is based on my new book from Fire Engineering Books and Videos, 101 Tips to Ace Your Promotional Examination, available off my website, Code3 Fire Training, as well as fireengineeringbooks.com. You also got a 25% off code if you choose to use it. So if you have any problems with that, just reach out to me and I'll see if I can get you a plan B. So let's cut to tip 27. As we talk about being the best that you can be, not just for the promotional process, but for the position that you aspire to, one of the best tips that is out there is talking to those that are already in the positions that you aspire to. Because as I talk with candidates about how they prepared, how they're preparing, how they're getting ready, you know, I like asking the question of how do you research a position? And a lot of people are quick to say, well, I'll go on the internet, I'll search around, I'll go to the department's website, go to some leadership websites, for example. If you want to be a company officer, chief officer, a lot of stuff on the internet. I get it. Or I'll go to classes, read books, all good stuff. Well, one of the best things you can do is talking to the people that are doing the job that you want. Meaning, if you're a firefighter and you want to be a captain, you can read all about it to prepare yourself. Still, nothing beats actually doing the job or acting in the position. Yeah, reading is good. Going to classes is good. But how about talking to those individuals? Because one or many of the questions you may get on an oral interview during your promotional process is how have you prepared for the position of whatever. So one of the things you can talk about is how I prepare for the position, not just through training, experience, education, but from talking to people that are in the position, finding out the pros and the cons, finding out what they like about the job, what they don't like about the job, what their feedback for you is as an aspiring person for their position. So if you get that, how have you prepared yourself? You can actually segue part of this into that. So that's one good suggestion there too. Now, another question that you may get asked is, why do you want to be a captain or battalion chief or whatever position? Well, if you've already talked to those people that are in the positions, then you can actually have a good honest answer besides just, well, I think I want to become a captain because, better pay, I get to be the officer, the one in charge, the leader. Yeah, right. Nobody wants to promote someone like that. Instead, you can say, well, one of the reasons I want to become a captain is I'm at that point in my career. Plus, I've had a chance to talk to many captains within the department as well as outside the department. Many of my friends, contacts on social media, I've talked to a lot of people that have already been working as captains or even in positions above, but definitely in positions that I want to get to. And I've had a chance to ask them the pros and the cons, their feedback, their likes, their dislikes, their suggestions, their lessons learned, their tips for success. And based on all the people that I've talked to, you know what, I still want to be a captain because of this and that. By showing that you've talked to those people that are in the positions, it helps, number one, the oral board raters realize that, you know what, you're serious about this, and you're also not just blindly going in thinking that, oh yeah, I want to be a you know whatever, because I think it's a cool job to have. Well, you can think it's a cool position to have until you got to do the job. I mean, I think I wanted to be a fire chief at one point until I talked to fire chiefs. Don't get me wrong. I talked to a lot of fire chiefs that are friends of mine, about the pros and the cons of the position, what they like, they dislike, the challenges of the position, suggestions they had for me. And it a lot of those conversations opened up my eyes about what I was wanting to get into, and almost to the point of going, you know what? I don't know if I want to be a fire chief. Nothing disrespectful meant for anybody in that position. More power to anybody that stepped up, applied for positions, and also taken fire chief positions. My hat's off to you. I'm never going to talk bad about a fire chief because I know how tough your job is. But anyway, talking to people that are in the positions that you aspire to can gain you a lot of valuable insight, definitely a lot of valuable advice. Give them your resume. Hey, any suggestions on my resume? Anything should be doing differently? Maybe they can give you a mock interview. Maybe they can give you just lessons learned over the course of their career. The opportunities and the reasons are endless. But talking to those people in the positions you want to get into can pay off dividends and pay off tremendously in the long run. So think about it this way: if you haven't done your research, how do you know what you're getting into potentially? You may think you want to take that next step, but that next step may not be for you. Seriously. Positions look great from the outside when you're not having to do the job. But then when you're in that hot seat going, okay, I didn't know I had to do that, or I didn't know that this was going to be going on. Well, guess what? Had you talked to people doing the job, they probably would have told you, yeah, one of the bad parts about the job is doing stuff like this. It's not all fun and games, but talk to people. If anything, someone may talk you out of the position. That's not a bad thing. I remember a battalion chief who worked for me years ago. Um, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, chief, I'm deputy chief." And he was thinking about going from battalion chief to deputy chief. And he's like, "Hey, chief, can we sit down and talk about can I pick your brain on becoming a deputy chief?" I'm like, "Anytime, that's what I'm here for." So he went around and we scheduled a meeting, and he came into the meeting and he wasn't looking himself. He looked a little off. And I go, "Hey, what's up, chief? How you doing?" And he goes, "I just met with chief so-and-so," another, person of my rank. He goes, "I just met with chief so-and-so." I go, "Well, how'd that meeting go?" He goes, "They talked me out of taking the deputy chief test." And I was sort of chuckling. And I go, "Tell me more." He goes, "Yeah, I just spent an hour thinking they were going to give me all this great advice and pat me on the back and inspire me and motivate me and encourage me to take the deputy chief test. And instead, they basically said, 'You're wasting your time. You're not going to have fun as a deputy chief,' because in our department, a deputy chief is a 40-hour position, Monday through Friday, admin. You drive a desk. Versus battalion chief, just like firefighter, just like captain, is at the firehouse. You're running calls." So he was going from basically battalion chief on shift to admin deputy chief, and he is someone that hated the administrative stuff, hated the admin stuff. So back to the story, he came to my office all dejected, almost crying, going, "Chief, Chief so and so just talked me out of taking the test." And I go, and I'm thinking to myself, this is my perfect segue, because I totally agreed. I go, "All right, chief, you want my honest opinion? You asked for it." And he's like, "Yeah, I want your honest opinion, boss." "Okay, be careful what you ask for." I go, "They were right." And he's looking at me. I go, "Because I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to talk you out of taking the deputy chief test." And he's like, "You're supposed to encourage me, mentor me." I go, "I'm doing all the above. But let's get back to what you initially told me, is you hate the admin stuff. You hate driving a desk like I do." Hey, I wish I was on a rig, but I enjoy what I do. But I go, think about it. You enjoy working operationally as a battalion chief out in the field. So you know what? That's where your passion is. That's where your heart is. Go out there, stay out there, enjoy it. Because if you come in here, even if it's a deputy chief with more money, you're going to be miserable on a 40-hour week, because it's budgets, admin, personnel issues. Thankfully, we don't get a lot of personnel issues. We got, those are rare. And he looked at me and he goes, "I never thought of it that way." He goes, "I was expecting all this inspiration, encouragement, but," he goes, "you two are actually right." He goes, "I'd be miserable at that spot." Yes. Do us a favor, do yourself a favor, be happy, find your happy spot. And if that's your happy spot as a battalion chief, stay there, enjoy it, have fun. If you ever change your mind and want to step up, come back, let's talk. So sometimes you may have to talk someone out of the position, and that's not a bad thing. Just like I think some wise fire chiefs have talked me out of becoming a fire chief. That's probably not a bad thing. Stay as a deputy chief. It's a great rank, great position. I'm probably perfect in that position. Not perfect. That's a bad thing to say, because none of us are perfect, but not that I couldn't do a fire chief's job, but given the challenges I see politically at that level, budget challenge, personnel issues as fire chief, yeah, I don't see that many fire chiefs having as much fun as the lower ranking folks are. Nothing personal. It's just the job and the stress of it. So anyway, as always, thank you very much for the gift of your time. Please feel free to reach out if I can ever be of assistance to any one of you out there. Connect with me on social media, and you know what? Keep enjoying what you're able to do. And until the next time, stay safe, and we'll